I got interested in environmental science probably 15 years ago, and I was living in Auckland and I walked over a reserve. And as I walked over the reserve, I noticed metal and things sticking out of the ground. So I got onto my hands and knees and investigated a little further and saw hypodermic needles and tins and tyres and cars sticking out of this supposed reserve. And I realised it was a landfill. So I went back to the university and I said, has anybody studied the site? I'm really interested. They said, great project, go ahead. So I did my dissertation on this landfill in Point Chevalier in Auckland and found all sorts of heavy metals and acids, cyanide. And from that I went on to more social science to look at people's behaviour in regards to waste. Why were people throwing away things? Were they aware of recycling? Was it important to them? And then that led on to developing resources, writing books for children on environmental issues and teaching as well. I formed an environmental science consultancy for 10 years and then came to the university, and now I'm the Environmental Sustainability Coordinator. Making science accessible to children and adults is really, really important, and it's about getting engagement, educating people. Sometimes when I'm guest lecturing, I'll put up some pretty provocative images of dead animals like dogs and horses and things in landfills, saying this is a landfill in Hamilton, this is not America or China, this is here. So I think sometimes it's good to sort of jolt people slightly, out of their complacency, because it's very easy to look at waste and go, it conveniently just disappears, I don't have to think about it. And it's not always easy being green, but I try and say to people, it needs to be a norm, it needs to be part of your everyday behaviour. It's not difficult turning a light out when you leave a room, it's not difficult recycling. And these things actually save you money. I've set up something called the Faculty of Worms. It's a large industrial worm farm. There's, I think, 8,000 worms in there, and they're consuming 4 tonnes of organic waste a year. So all the food from the village green and the cafeterias and the food court, the worms are breaking that food down, which is great because it means then we can put the compost and the fertiliser on the gardens. We don't have to buy it in, so we're keeping it in the loop, so we're not impacting on the community and we're saving money as well. At the university we have 3 lakes, Oranga Lake, Knighton Lake and Chapel Lake, and they were put in the 60s as stormwater attenuation ponds, and they've been a bit of a problem over the last few years because they're silting up, so a lot of silt or sediment has washed in from the stormwater pipes and they're getting quite shallow. And so we decided to start to remediate the lakes, and we do that by riparian planting, so we'll plant trees and bushes and shrubs around the outside of the lake, and also an extension at the back of the lake to draw the water off the sports field. So we recently conducted a community planting day. We put 600 plants into the ground, which was great. We had a lot of involvement from community and students and staff as well. And then the next stage will be to actually suction the sediment out of the lake. It's quite eutrophic, so a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus, and so if we can suction that out, the lakes won't be as turbid or cloudy, and hopefully we can do some more planting as well.